Each member of the U.S. ski team has their own individual way of going down the mountain. And while they may not agree on what equipment should get them to the bottom, they do agree on what equipment should get them to the top. Subaru, official car of the U.S. ski team since 1976.
More than any other athlete lives the life of a gypsy. In the early days of the World Cup, the season was short and confined primarily to Central Europe. Such is certainly not the case today. The men's downhill racers began their season months ago and thousands of miles from the posh ski resorts of Europe. The first stop was Las Linas, Argentina in South America. Then came a break until December with the tour picking up in France, with other races in Italy, Austria, Sweden, and Switzerland. Now, with 2 races remaining, the nomads of the ski racing world have found their way to Aspen, Colorado for today's running of the Americas downhill. Aspen, Colorado is tucked away in Roaring Fork Valley, high in the Rockies southwest of Denver. Once a bustling silver mining town in the late 1800s, Aspen fell on hard times in the early 1900s, only to emerge in the 30s and blossom in the 50s as a skier's paradise. Aspen is actually 4 distinct ski areas. There's Aspen Highlands. It appears almost to be a scene from the Swiss Alps. Then there's Buttermilk Mountain. The Highlands and Buttermilk are flanked to the west by Snowmass, and to the east by the original area, Aspen Mountain. Aspen Mountain, where today the world's finest downhill racers will compete in the Americas downhill. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford, standing near the finish line of America's Downhill here in Aspen, Colorado. And all of us at ABC are delighted you are with us. We are happy we have the opportunity to bring you this premier event in ski racing here in the United States. And we may well have the Men's World Cup Downhill Champion decided and crowned right here on Aspen Mountain today. At the moment, Peter Wernsberger of Austria, he is the leader. He has won 4 times this year. But Peter Muller of Switzerland, he is a 3-time World Cup Downhill Champion. He still has an opportunity. All he has to do is win today and win next week at Whistler Mountain, and that is a pretty tall order. But he is the kind of a racer that will come up to a big race and give it everything he has. He's hurt a little bit today. We'll discuss that very shortly. But the outside shot would have to be the United States' Bill Johnson. Bill Johnson won here in Aspen in 1984 after he'd won the gold medal in Sarajevo. He fell on hard times after that. He skied poorly throughout 1985, but he's back on his skis. He's running well. He's trained well. He's got that little smile that tells us all he's ready to win. Whether or not he will, we'll have to wait to find out. And working with me today is a resident of Aspen, Bob Beatty, former U.S. men's ski team coach. And Bob, what do you think today?
Well, first of all, Frank, it's nice to have you here in Aspen. You had a good time?
I've had a few chuckles. I usually do.
Well, it's been a long time, 2 years to be exact, since we've talked about Bill Johnson as being a possible winner. I think maybe being the winner is a little bit too much to expect. Maybe first, second, or third. If he could get a 3rd place, that would be outstanding for him because he's on his way back, so to speak. The one, though, I think could be the winner, though, and I think the favorite here is Mark Girardelli of Luxembourg. He's very powerful, and he turns very well on this icy course. Speaking of the course, let's take a look. Aspen's downhill is a 2-part race, flat on the top and steep at the bottom. The vertical drop is 2,600 feet. The length is nearly 2 miles, and the average speed is about 55 miles per hour. Racers will reach speeds of 80 miles per hour. The start is almost 11,000 feet, one of the highest on the World Cup circuit. This view is as it looks to the racer right out of the start house. He'll have to ride an absolutely flat ski here, making sure he doesn't edge. He'll also have to keep a perfect aerodynamic position. It'll be impossible to do well on this downhill if the racer does not have fast skis on the upper section. Here, zigzag, and then completing the flatter portion of the course. Now we are looking at zigzag section as it looks to the racer. Bumps have been built in, and there is a real monster here. The racer will really fly if he isn't careful. It hurts my back even thinking about the landing. Then it's riding a flat ski leading to Aztec, and the flats are over. Probably the toughest turn on this downhill is the one leading into Aztec. Aztec is nearly a sheer wall with 3 tough turns. Then it's through Spring Pits, the fastest section, in speeds of 80 miles per hour. Then a left before the Berlin Wall and onto a short road. For the racer, Aztec is, as Doug Lewis of the United States says, falling out of a plane. It's that steep. Not much sun hits this part, and it's icy. Skis are flying all over the place. The racer will have a hard time keeping up with his skis. After rattling through Aztec, it's a big right-hand turn and onto spring pitch. No time to relax because he'll be going 80 miles an hour. Then his airplane turn, which is just above Berlin Wall. A wall made of hay bales and snow to keep the racer from falling into a gully. The lower section of the downhill starts off with a big right-hand turn. Then the rolling terrain of straw pile and more high-speed turns. Next, it's around Norway Island and a big roll where it's hard to see. By now, the racer's legs are starting to burn, and having come from an altitude of 11,000 feet, it's hard to breathe. Through Fifth Avenue, followed by a long left turn and on to the finish.
All right, Bob, you've got my attention. Also working with us today, Donna De Verona. She's been bouncing around Aspen this past week. She'll tell us about that. She'll also be at the finish line. Meanwhile, in the start house, Daniel Maher of Switzerland, a 24-year-old racer, kind of shook things up around here yesterday. In the final training run, he was in first place. He's on the course to flat part first.
Well, Frank, Maher is a really kind of an interesting racer because he's been very inconsistent. And at 24 years of age, he better get going. But the Swiss program allows this. If you're not very good for a couple of years, they kind of leave you alone. They have that many good racers. But I think the most important thing is this gliding section up on the top. There are many different kinds of skis that these racers have with different types of bases. It's important they select the best base. Oh, very good off that bump. And you also have to drive those hands right to your boot tops going off these bumps that have been built into the top.
Very important to carry the speed through this flat part. And then, after about 50 seconds, it really gets turny and twisty and the speed picks up.
You can see how strong those legs have to be, Frank, when he goes off those bumps. You can imagine just pushing yourself down the skis and having to hold it, getting back up on them again.
Running time up at the top, that's it. We'll compare the other races as they come down with their time up at the top.
Okay, now he's into Aztec, Frank, and this week has been very warm and slushy during the daytime and then freezing up at night, and that's particularly the case here today. It's very hard, very icy. I think that Mara, starting first, is going to obviously have great conditions. There aren't any chop marks, any chatter marks, and he has a really good opportunity here because of that start position.
Speed quickens down here. Maher's never won a downhill race, the best he's ever had in his career. A second-place finish. He won a Super G, but now he is really got his attention on this course because everything happens so fast.
Okay, he's going through straw pile right now. You can see it already rough, and that's from the forerunners that have gone down in front of him. Also, his skis are sliding just a little bit. He's got to try to carve good turns, but not to be too precise and edge too much to get around those turns. It's kind of you want to be on the kind of ragged edge, so to speak.
Running time of the ride of the first racer on the course, Daniel Maher of Switzerland, and there he is. First racer down the course. Daniel Maher takes a look at the electronic timing device. Seems satisfied. Coming up, of course, Peter Muller. He's still alive for a possible World Cup downhill title, and he has to win today to keep his hopes alive. Switzerland is coming up, and Peter knows he has to win today for any chance at a World Cup downhill title. But he's lucky just to be here. 2 weeks ago, his season almost ended with the fall in Sweden. A broken arm, a severe boot-top bruise. Donna De Verona talked with Peter.
Take me through last week in North Sweden. Right at the top of the hill, there were 2 bumps, and on the second bump, you got a lot of air and you crashed. Thought about it a lot. Could you call it back to memory?
I was coming very fast, but the wind was coming back and pushed me, and I didn't see the bump. I push too early, and then I going in the air like a flyer, and I have no chance to stand it. It was too fast.
And after you got up from the fall and checked yourself out, what were the final results as far as injuries are concerned, and how are you coping with them here?
The arm is broken.
Special cast, can you explain it and how far it goes up and what it does to help your downhill?
Yeah, that's plastic. It's specially made for the arm, and then I can with the arm not more than this. And so this part is broken, and then it's going, and I cannot make some like this arm that doesn't go, and then it's not so dangerous. But it's a little handicap, but it's not so bad.
Now here he is in the start house, Peter Muller of Switzerland, a 3-time World Cup downhill champion, 79, 80, 82. He's won here at Aspen before. He won last year. He won twice in 82 when they had 2 races. He knows exactly what he has to do, but will he be able to do it? Will he be able to push with that left hand out of the start house onto that flat part of the course? He has to, Bob, come out of there with speed.
Well, he got out of there pretty fast, Frank, and at 28 years old, he's had a lot of experience. I'm sure when he hits these bumps coming up, he's going to be thinking about that fall in Sweden, though. He's going to want to keep those hands really driving down to his boot top.
He has trained amazingly well here. Peter Bernsberger, the leader in World Cup points in the downhill, said he just could not understand how he could come back from that fall and ski so well only 2 weeks later. Here he is at the top of the hill. Muller, he has got to win today or any chance for World Cup Championship is over.
It was perfect on that first big bump, Frank. You notice he's not going to straighten up and start windmilling and let those tips get in his face. Look at how flat he's riding those skis, too. Very important on this top part.
Just a great season. There he is up the second bump. Not bad at all.
No, he got a little bit twisted and kind of edged when he landed, but it's not too bad.
Great season thus far, but he wants to win it all, does Peter Muller. He's had 3 second-place finishes, and, of course, the 2 victories.
Boy, he almost got out into the fencing right there. He got so wide coming into Aztec.
Now, the speed really picks up down through the lower part of the course. The quick turns, you're really busy. You can't think. You just have to react down here.
And this is where Muller is very good because he used to be a good giant slalom skier before he was a downhiller. He turns very well in these tight turns.
Peter Muller to the bottom part of the course.
Okay, we can see Muller now trying to stay as low as he can, but he has to make good turns. Here he is, his dropout. Got a little bit wide right through there, Frank.
Carving the final turns.
We can see him get on his uphill ski a little bit. It's very slick, very icy down through here. Muller's really having some ride. Oh, look at that last bump.
Maher's time, the time to beat for Muller to take the lead. He has to do it. He is in first place.
Good time for Muller. That's going to be very tough to beat, I think.
Daniel Maher moves to second place, teammate of Peter Muller. Muller now is in first place. Still, of course, to come, Peter Bernsberger. He's up at the top of the hill. Peter Bernsberger, like many top ski racers, comes from a very humble, small-town background. Peter laughs when you call his hometown of Werndenberg in the northeast of Austria a village. It's too small for that, he says. But this is where his racing career was launched. His mother and father operate a ski lift here, and like everywhere else in Austria, skiers begin early in life. Peter was 2 when he started skiing, and it was apparent at an early age he had the makings of a champion. Peter joined the Austrian World Cup team in 1977. His progress was slow until suddenly, this year, he exploded in mid-season with 4 consecutive wins. The first to win that many consecutive victories since Franz Klammer. Peter has been racing on the World Cup since '76, but he's only had a few wins until all of a sudden this year. Everything came together. Bob, ask him how it happened.
Oh, it's hard to explain this. I didn't make something different to the years before, and now suddenly it works. I did the same training, same hard training as before, and now it works. Sometimes it works easy, but it's a lot of work.
Here he is, Peter Bernsberger, the World Cup leader in downhill points with 115. He knows that if he can win, and Peter Muller of Switzerland is at the bottom of the hill in first place at the moment, Bernsberger knows that if he can win, he has taken the World Cup Downhill Championship. He's had an up-and-down career. He started way back in '76. He's won 4 races this year. He won them consecutively, and in his entire career coming into this year, he had only won 4 races, so it has been spectacular.
Frank, the Austrians have had a tough week here. Hadi Weirater blew out his knee earlier in the week and is back in Austria right now. And yesterday, Helmut Herflander dislocated his shoulder. You have to wonder what effect that's going to have on Bernsberger.
I think Bernsberger is only thinking about Peter Muller down at the bottom of the hill in first place. Aspen has always been a problem for Bernsberger. His best finish in 6 races, a 7th place, but he's skiing so much better this year.
Well, Frank, we can see him on the top part of the course. He's not as low on his skis as we saw Muller. He also got a little bit twisted off that bump right there. I think he could get just a little bit wider with his ski base and get a little bit lower, compress a little bit more, cut down that air resistance.
That's Muller's time up at the top. And we'll see how Bernsberger does. Not bad up there.
No, he was good. He should be good on the turns down here on the ice, too. That actually was pretty good for him on the top part.
Second place, Lake Placid won the silver medal there. He did not make the team for the Austrians in '84, and he really has made a spectacular comeback since then. Here he is to the lower part.
And we can see those skis flying all over the place because it's a little bit choppy. It's extremely icy. It hasn't been as warm this morning, so it stayed very icy through this whole course.
At the bottom of the hill, Peter Muller is looking up. If Bernsberger can take away the lead of Peter Muller with this run, he will be the world's men downhill champion.
Well, he looked pretty good down through Stromfile. Down through Norway Island and pretty good off that that bump, got right back on his skis.
Final few meters for Bernsberger. No, he misses by 29/100ths of a second, but should Bernsberger remain in second place, he'll have 120 World Cup points, and that would clinch at least a tie for the World Cup Downhill Championship should Peter Mueller maintain his lead today and win next week at Whistler Mountain. That to be told, of course. Leonard Stock of Austria will be the next racer on the course. Gold medalist at Lake Placid in 1980. You remember him. Kind of disappeared for a few years, but this has been a great comeback year. He was demoted to the B team by Austria last year, but this year he's racing well and has a second and a fourth in 2 of the last 3 races.
Well, Frank, it's very interesting about Stock because he was ranked only 43rd in the world in downhill at the beginning of the year. Now he's skied his way up into the group of 15, the top group, and of course they draw by lots, and hence he got number 7 today. So he's really having a major comeback.
Again, up at the top of the mountain, you have to carry that speed. Good off that first bump.
He was very good on that bump. Notice how he kept his back flat to the snow. He didn't pick up a lot of wind coming against his chest.
Bob and I, of course, called that race in Lake Placid in which he won the gold medal. He was a surprise.
Oh, he got back a little bit there, sat on the tails of his skis, but he bounced right back up again.
We remember the Austrian team in disarray coming into Lake Placid. No one had even heard of Leonard Stock, and all of a sudden he came from nowhere to win the gold, and now he's making a spectacular comeback.
And how many people will remember, Frank, that he replaced Franz Klammer on the Austrian team and then went on to win that gold medal. But he's skiing very well down here. He's a good giant slalom skier. This should help him on the steep parts. This should help him on the ice, which is very icy again, as we mentioned before today.
Down through the lower part of the course. The speed quickens. The turns are sharper.
And he's fighting to stay in that tuck. Okay, now, Frank, he's skiing very well down through here. Now down through straw pile. He got his hand behind him, his left hand behind him a little bit, and that swung him just a touch wide. Look at those skis flying all over the place down through here.
He's really letting it out down in the lower part of the course. Leonard Stock of Austria.
Oh, did he take some air there? But he's carrying a lot of
on
speed.
the top. He's the leader at the bottom. Final few meters. Stock into third place. But Mueller remains the leader. Bernsberger is in second place, and Stock has moved into third place. For Doug Lewis, it's been a strange World Cup season. A second place last summer, a fifth at Kitzbühel, out of the top 20 in the last 4 races. Bob asked Doug if perhaps he was a little frantic in his desire to win.
Yeah, sometimes I just try a little too hard, get a little too nervous, want to do too well. But here, we're in the States, you know, the people are great, the food is great, Aspen's great, and so I think I'm a little calmer, and I'm just going to have fun and have a good run.
You ski in Europe most of the year. Now you're home amongst the home people. Do you feel like it gives you a little bit of an added impetus?
I think so. It's a lot of people are rooting for you. I get more phone calls and more, you know, people wanting to talk to me. But I think that all helps. If I can put that away behind me, just concentrate on skiing.
Now in the start house, Doug Lewis of the United States from Salisbury, Vermont, just turned 22 a little over a month ago. So-so training results here in Aspen. And a so-so season. He had a second place in Argentina last summer, had a fifth in one of the 2 Kitzbühel this year. He's on the course. In the last 4 races, however, he has not been in the top 20.
Well, Frank, there's nobody on the World Cup circuit from anywhere who wants to win any more than Doug Lewis. Look at how low he's getting on his skis right here. He's really compressed down. The problem that Doug has sometimes is he doesn't relax quite enough. But if he can get a good start and be good on the top part of the course, he should be really good on the bottom part because he turns particularly well.
So important to be on flat on those skis up there. Aerodynamically perfect. He's good off that bump.
Like to be right back on those skis again and try to ride them just as flat as he can. Not to edge at all on this top part. Good on the flats.
Silver medalist from Bormio last February. We called that race for you then. Here he is again, good off the bump.
He caught a lot of air, though, and when you catch that air, you're only fast when you're on the ground. You don't want to be going through the air, catching that wind.
That's Muller's time on the left. He is the fastest thus far, and he has the lead. He's at the bottom of the hill. He needs to win today. Doug Lewis up there is third best up on the top.
That's very good on the top part, Frank, for him. Only 0.2 of a second behind. Oh, he's a little rough right there. He's getting some holes on that, on Aztec.
And right on this track, Bob, in 81, the Doug Lewis had a tremendous crash. Broke his back. He says he doesn't think about it, but you have to be concerned.
Recovery. What a recovery, Frank. That cost him a lot of time. This is where he's scrambling a little too much.
Stayed on the skis. More importantly, he was at high speed then. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that's what we've been meaning. He's been doing that all year long. He gets going pretty well, and then he kind of tightens up because he wants to do so well.
turn.
Oh, another tough mistake right in there. He got way back on his skis.
That's Muller's time in the left. Again, too much air, and he almost lost it again.
This is quite a ride for Doug, I'll tell you that. He won't forget this one.
This one will be memorable for Doug Lewis. Muller remains in first place. Bernsberger of Austria is in second place. Leonard Stock is in third place. And let's go back and take a look at that unbelievable recovery of Doug Lewis.
Well, Frank, this started off what was going to be a tremendous ride on the bottom part of the course. I'm amazed he's alive. He was in good shape here. He kind of leaned in just a little bit, and then he got back a little bit on his skis. Something seemed to kind of kick him out a little bit. Looked like maybe a rut, but got right back on those skis, kept him going down the hill again. What a ride.
And, of course, he had a problem a little later on down the course, but Doug Lewis skied out of the trouble into sixth place at this point. Peter Muller remains the leader, followed by Bernsberger and Stock.
Best blaze on. Former Olympic gold medalist and three-time World Cup overall champion Ingemar Stenmark and more compete in the men's giant slalom. It's same-day coverage of Aspen World Cup skiing tomorrow.
Lewis has skied into sixth place. It's been a week of festivities leading up to today's race. Donna De Verona has been here in Aspen all week, checking out the activities on Winternational Week. And here is Donna with her report.
Aspen is the second to last stop on the World Cup Tour, and this sophisticated town, I like to call it a city in the snow, has beckoned over 20,000 skiers and spectators to participate in the six-day celebration of the Aspen Winternational Festival. An informal parade featured the community school children. Always an integral part of the week-long celebration, the students worked on special projects using the Winternational as a theme, and it was so warm the kids left their jackets behind. In Wagner Park, they were greeted by a casual and energetic Governor Richard Lamb. From a distance, they watched brightly colored balloons signal the end of the ceremony. There was something for everyone in Aspen. At the landmark Opera House, the sponsors welcomed their guests and celebrities. A ski auction fundraiser made up of 10 ski teams competed against each other. The proceeds to go to the U.S. Ski Foundation. Dancing was also part of the scene. Last year's downhill defending champ Peter Muller took his mind off the race at a local disco, and the local jazz tap ensemble performed. The 6th annual Children's Race for the Deaf, hosted by celebrities Jill St. John and Robert Wagner, was special. Students from as far away as Texas competed. The coveted prize was a scholarship for this summer's Aspen Camp for the Deaf. 2 were given. Jill St. John lives here and supports this unique program.
The most important thing for me that I do here, and the children try so hard. It's such a wonderful thing for them to be able to do. They overcome whatever a handicap or infirmity that they may have, and they give us so much. They're so anxious to ski.
The time across the finish line of 30.71.
Everyone who raced received a medal. For defending champion Christopher Easton, this was his second time in a row in the winner's circle. On Friday night, in appreciation for one who has had a prolonged commitment to skiing, AT&T honored Swiss-born Serge Lang. He joins our own Bob Beatty, the first recipient of this award, for both their roles in creating the World Cup concept. World Cup racing has done a lot to mobilize this small, energetic community. No less than 30 events will be held in Aspen this week. 1,000 local volunteers will have made it all happen. It's a proud community, one that has it all: great mountains, history, and an explosive spirit.
Just another ho-hum week here in Aspen. They do it up right. Mark Giardelli in the start house, top of the hill, the overall World Cup leader with points, 279 points. He has pretty much wrapped that up. A good technical skier, a good downhill skier. Bob, you just have to wonder, however, if that injury that tore up that leg 3 years ago and drove him really into slalom and giant slalom, well, you wonder whether he's thinking about it. He could lose it again here in the downhill.
Well, Dr. Stedman from Lake Tahoe told me that it was really one of the worst knees he's ever seen. And frankly, a lot of people didn't think he'd be racing. Then he was good in slalom and giant slalom, mainly because he did such a great rehabilitation job. But this year, he's come on in downhill again. And frankly, he's skiing good downhill. He's really skiing good downhill.
He has trained so well here, Bob. I know at the top of the show you said if you had to pick one, it would be this man, Mark Giardelli, who skis for Luxembourg, even though he is in Austria. And that came about when he was a youngster and his father got in a fight with the coaches of the local team for whom he skied.
Well, the key for Giardelli, Frank, is to have some good times right up here as we see this midway coming up.
Muller on the top. He still is the best on the top. Ooh, not too good for Girardelli.
No,
Certainly
Frank,
not the way he trained, Bob.
he's about 0.5 of a second behind up there on the top. It's going to be a little bit difficult here, but the good thing about him is he's good on the turns and he's good on the steeps. The question is, how choppy is the course right now?
Young Mark Girardelli down in the part of the course that he skis so well. The quick turns, the high speed.
We know he really bulls his way through these turns. He's a tremendously power athlete.
And of course, down to the bottom, as he has been since he came down the course. Peter Muller looking up. He maintains the lead. Trouble there, Bob.
Yeah, Frank, in straw power right there in that first turn. He got himself twisted a little bit, got his left hand behind, and he really lost quite a bit of time right in there.
Will he have time to pick it up? That's Muller's time.
Oh,
at the
Frank,
top.
he went right straight up in the air. He lost all kinds of time.
Final few gates. Girardelli, he has moved into 6th place. Girardelli into 6th place. He had trouble on the top. He was slow where we thought he would be fast, and just a few meters before the finish line, again, trouble for Girardelli. The leaderboard once again. Muller on top, Wernsberger and Stock. Realistic, only Bill Johnson can take Muller out of 1st place, and he is going to be coming up in just a moment. 84. In 85, however, the magic disappeared. The skis were slow. Bill skied poorly, and it wasn't until a few weeks ago that he got it back together. Bob talked with Bill about just how important skis are to the racer.
If you have a pair of skis that are testing a 10th out and only a 10-second section, you multiply that over a length of a course and you're going to be a second or 2 out. And that was a lot of my difficulty at the beginning of the year because I was using skis that were older skis, and at the beginning of the year, we really didn't have enough time to test them, to find out what they were doing, and they were slow, and they tested slow when we tested them over Christmas.
Now, Bill, you mean to say you're using the exact same skis that you used in Sarajevo?
Well, they are the exact same pair, and we went back to the factory after testing them over Christmas. After they tested really slow, we took them back to the factory and re-ground them, and they seem to have come back a little bit.
You travel with your mother on the tour. What's that like?
Well, it's not a bother for me. I'm pretty much professional when it comes to on the hill. She distracts the other guys a little bit more because when they come down to the finish, she always gives them a big hug, and that's kind of embarrassing for a guy to come down and you made it again,
Bill Johnson is coming up, but at the bottom of the hill, Peter Muller of Switzerland remains in 1st place. Peter Wernsberger of Austria, if he stays in 2nd place, has clinched at least a tie for the Men's World Cup downhill title. Bill Johnson of the United States is the only skier that can replace Muller at the bottom.
And the thing that Johnson does so well, Frank, is he glides well. He is very loose in his knees and ankles, and look at that aerodynamic position. Hands right up under his chin. Actually, his back is just flat right to the snow. He's very good up here. We're going to know after the top 50 seconds whether he realistically has a shot at this.
Although he won here, Bob, in 84, and he was slow up in the top, over a second behind the leader.
He got right back on the snow on that bump. He looks pretty good at the top. It's just a matter of, see that ski go out? His ski keeps going out, but he didn't get up. He didn't let it worry. He brought it right back in there again, but he did lose just a little bit.
Peter Muller at the bottom of the hill looking up. He knows that Bill Johnson can replace him, and then his hopes for a World Cup championship would be all over. That's Muller's time on the left, or Muller's time at the top. And here comes Johnson.
Not bad, Frank.
Not
about
bad
3/10 of a second. You have to remember, coming down here we are in Aztec. It's very shady, hard to ski, and the potholes are really getting big. Really had great snow to ski on. Johnson doesn't have great snow to ski on. If he can win this race, it'll be one of the great races in the world for him, I'll tell you. Because it is very tough down through here. Look at those skis flying all over the place.
Oh,
down. Right by the Berlin Wall.
He was going for it. He looks to be all right. There's a high-speed fall for Bill Johnson, and he looks like he's okay. He was really going for it. He knew perhaps that he was just a shade behind Muller up in the top. He lost it a couple of places up there. He tried to make it up down in the bottom and blew that ski out, and it's all over for Bill Johnson. Wernsberger remains in 2nd place. He clinches at least a tie for the World Cup Downhill Championship. Peter Muller, today's winner, can share that title if he wins next week. Here's Johnson once again.
Well, Frank, that happened very, very fast. It looked like he just caught his edge in one of those ruts by a previous racer, Here he is in pretty good shape right here, getting back into his tuck. No problems there. And all of a sudden, well, he did sit back just a little bit, but it looked like he just caught his edge and that ski flipped right out. It was fortunate for him he didn't get hurt because he fell right on the flat.
Is he okay?
And I'm sure Bill isn't very happy with that because he was skiing well. Let's go to Donna with Peter Mueller at the finish line.
Peter, under the greatest pressure with an injury, you knew you had to keep yourself alive. You had to win this to keep yourself in contention for the overall World Cup title. Where did you find that 1.5 seconds from your best training run to capture this event?
I think yesterday I has lost the last 3 turns down here, more than half a second, and then I was good looking at the video how he's doing the other who are faster there, and I looked very good this morning at the inspection from the course, and then I saw the line who's the fastest, and I can take it.
How about your injuries? We talked about them earlier. Did you feel them? Were you conscious of them on the way down, especially at the start when you had to push off with your arm?
Yeah, at the start I cannot push so strong than normally, but it goes really down, and I think I lose not much at the start. I had really good skis, and I can take the concentration, and it's a new thing for me with a broken arm to win the World Cup title.
Well, it certainly did help you focus. Now, back to you, Frank.
Mueller has locked it up. And a reminder, tomorrow here on ABC Sports Professional Boxing Series, live from Hampton, Virginia, at 4 o'clock Eastern, it'll be Olympic champion Pernell Whitaker against John Montes. Following the boxing, from here in Aspen, same-day coverage of the World Cup Men's Giant Slalom featuring the legendary Ingemar Stenmark. Here's Donna De Verona with Bill Johnson.
Billy, with just a little sense of humor, said that might have straightened his back out. Now, you were really fast at the intermediate time. You're only 2.29 seconds behind Mueller. Did you have an idea you were going that fast?
Yeah, I felt I had a pretty good run going. Just caught an edge on coming out of the airplane turn. And
looked like there was pretty ready up there after all the skiers went before you.
Yeah, it was a lot rougher today than it has been in training, and I wasn't really prepared for that.
Okay, so what are you going to say to yourself now before the next one?
It's no big deal. This is like the 3rd anniversary of my last fall.
Okay, thanks, Billy.
Yeah.
Glad you're not hurt. Back to you, Frank.
Peter Mueller of Switzerland wins America's downhill. He could share the World Cup downhill title with second-place finisher Peter Wernsberger of Austria if he wins next week in Canada. Leonard Stock of Austria was 3rd. For Bob Beatty and Donna De Verona, this is Frank Gifford saying so long from Aspen. Stay tuned for more women's. To bring you the World Cup Men's Giant Slalom from here on Aspen Mountain. That race has been canceled. It was not canceled because of the heavy snow which is falling right now. It was canceled by some rather unusual circumstances. To bring you up to date, let's go back to earlier this morning. Today's race was scheduled to start at 9 a.m. It was held up because of the condition of the course. Now, this was the weather approximately at 10 a.m. A front was coming up Roaring Fork Valley. And it got here all right. As you can see, the snow began to fall. The fog started to move in. The top of the course became almost invisible. There was a meeting down at the finish line by the jury, and they got together, talked it over, and they decided they were going to go ahead with the race. They, meanwhile, have been working on the course. And this was approximately 10:45 when Fletcher Yaw, a youngster from here in Aspen, was the first forerunner. And you'll get an idea just how thick the fog was as Fletcher Yaw disappears into the fog. And young Fletcher had his problems. He took a fall. He wasn't injured at all, but he probably just could not see where he was going. Into one of the gates, and Fletcher got himself disengaged, and now came the second forerunner. This is Ryan Smalls, another junior from here in Aspen. And like Yaw, he will disappear into the fog bank. And so Smalls is history for a moment from our cameras, and here he is. And he just skied off the course. Ryan Smalls did not take a fall, and that set off something we've never seen before. These are the racers. These are the World Cup racers. The jury said, let's go with the race. The racers said, forget it, Buster, we're not going to do it. And they moved out onto the course. They blocked the entire course, standing down at about gate number 2 as you pan up to the start house. The racers from all the countries out on the course, and there's no way they could get the race underway. It's something I have never seen, bizarre to say the least. But then, this is the world of alpine skiing, isn't it? So that's the story. We will not be running the World Cup men's giant slalom. You can't run the race with the racers standing in the middle of the race course. So there will be no giant slalom today from Aspen. We will, however, go back and pick up some of the action and excitement from yesterday's downhill. It was a fantastic downhill with Peter Muller coming through with a clutch victory. We'll be seeing that very shortly, but meanwhile, my colleague Bob Beatty has been buzzing around the finish line like only he can do, picking up a lot of overhears. Bob, what have you heard?
Well, the sport of alpine skiing, Frank, seems to thrive on overhears, as we know. It's a sad day for alpine skiing, as far as I'm concerned. What you had was a vote by the jury, 3-2 to have the race, and then the racers themselves said, no, we're not going to race. So all but 2 of them stood right in the second gate. You can't race if they're all standing right there, unless you want to go right through them, and decided, okay, we're not going to race. And so you can't race, if there aren't going to be any racers.
The 2 being Mark Giardelli and Joel Gaspeau.
And they were going to be 1 and 2 down the race course. In all fairness, they would have had really good terrain to ski down. Now, as far as the races are concerned, they said it just wasn't safe enough. As far as I'm concerned, I think that the jury should make the decision. It's like in baseball, having the umpires say, okay, it's not raining that hard anymore, come on and play, and all of the ball players sitting in the dugout. I think they should have started the race. And then if it broke up and it wasn't safe, they should have stopped the race.
I saw this once before, Bob. 1981, your professional racing circuit. That was the end of that professional racing circuit. As I recall, quickly, what sort of effect will this have on the World Cup?
Well, I don't think it's a very good day for the World Cup. I think that they've got to get their leadership under control and say, who's going to be running this? Are we, the officials, going to run it, or are the racers going to run it?
Lots of thoughts and lots of opinions. Bob had a camera, walking around talking to some of the principals. Here they are.
In your opinion, you've just come down the course. Is the course okay to race on?
The course is okay to race. It's not a very good course. It's not very good prepared because the weather was very bad the last days. But if the downhill could be started yesterday, then the GS today can start it 5 times today.
Thomas, tell us about the racer boycott.
There was no boycott up there on the hill. There was old people standing down the start without 2 racers. With the best numbers, and everybody was standing there, and nobody said we had to go out, and so we...
In other words, you all just happen to be standing in the middle of the second gate, but you don't call that a racer boycott?
No, I think it's not a boycott. It's a
group decision.
It's not a racer boycott. It was a boycott, perhaps, from all people. They have been there.
Who did?
From the servicemen, from the coaches, from the racers, because I think there was only the jury who was to do the race.
Myself and the other one in the jury, Klaus Meyer, we are representative from the teams. We say it's not a right slope for a World Cup race. The other member of the jury, they say yes. And the decision was 3-2, 4 to have a race. And we all go to the top, and we like to have the race. And later, most of the teams, they don't like to have a race. The racer was inside of the first gate.
What is your opinion of the fact that the jury voted, and it's usually a vote that counts, to have the race, and then the racers boycotted the race? What's your feeling about that?
I am not agree this situation, and I am not agree the decision from the racer, because in the future we can have a lot of problems when we allowed the racer to block the race or to make a strike.
Yeah, the snow conditions were not so good. I think it was a little dangerous.
Would you have raced?
If the others had raced, I think I would have done it, but I was not so happy about it.
And that's the story of today's bizarre cancellation of the men's giant slalom from Aspen. The Subaru Aspen Winternational is brought to you by Subaru. Inexpensive and built to stay that way. Also brought to you by AT&T and long-distance services, information systems, telephones, and computers. AT&T is the right choice. And brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. In a moment, we'll have exciting coverage from yesterday's America's Downhill.